In a dark corner of New York City, where the neon lights never go out, Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, sits atop a skyscraper, looking down at the bustling crowd below. It has been 3 years since he fought his last enemy, the Green Goblin, and brought peace to the city. But tonight, something is wrong. The air is heavy, as if an invisible storm is brewing. Peter takes off his mask, revealing a scarred face and tired eyes. He is 30 years old, no longer the naive boy who once swung his webs all over the city. Years of being a hero have taken their toll. Aunt May died of illness, MJ left him because she couldn't handle the dangerous life. And now Peter is all alone. A lonely man with powers that he sometimes feels are a curse. Suddenly, an explosion rings out from the center of the city. Peter donned his mask, spun his web, and ran toward the sound. When he arrived, the sight before him made his blood run cold. A giant snake, its skin glowing red and patterned, exactly like his suit, slithering across Times Square. Its mouth was wide open, revealing sharp teeth, and its roar shook the glass of the buildings. People ran in all directions. Screams echoed everywhere. Peter stood frozen on a lamppost, trying to understand what was happening. This snake, it wasn't a natural creature. It was something created, and what made Peter shiver was the spider symbol on its head, the symbol he had worn for years as a pledge to protect the city. "No way," Peter muttered. He shot his web down, landed on an abandoned car in the middle of the road, and shouted, "Hey, monster! Aim for me!" The snake turned its head, its golden eyes locked on Peter. It roared, and before Peter could react, a giant tail swept out, sending him flying straight into a glass shop across the street. The sound of shattering glass rang out, and Peter felt blood trickle from the corner of his mouth. He stood up, trying to regain his composure. "Fine, if you want to play, I'll play with you." Peter quickly realized that the snake was not just any ordinary creature. As he dodged its attacks, he noticed a strange detail. From the snake's mouth, a thick black liquid flowed, and every time the liquid touched the road, it corroded the concrete like acid. This liquid, it was too familiar. It was the venom symbiote he had fought many years ago. But why did venom transform into this form? And why did it have the image of Spider-Man? Peter struggled to think as he fought. He shot out his web, grabbed onto a building and pulled himself up, avoiding the snake's bite. In that moment, he saw a figure standing on top of a nearby building, watching the battle with a cold smile. The person was dressed in a white suit with the Oscorp logo on his chest. Oscorp. Peter gritted his teeth. He knew the corporation well. After Norman Osborn's death, Oscorp had fallen into the hands of an even more dangerous man, Alistair Smythe, a mad scientist bent on world domination through biotechnology. Peter had stopped Alistair once before, but it seemed he was back, and this time he had a terrifying weapon. The snake roared, charging straight at Peter. He jumped up, shooting webs into its eyes, causing it to scream in pain. But just as Peter thought he had the upper hand, the snake suddenly curled up and shot a jet of thick black liquid at him. Peter couldn't dodge it in time, and the liquid stuck to his arm. Immediately, he felt a burning pain, as if the symbiote was trying to invade his body again. "No, no," Peter screamed, using his other hand to tear the liquid off his body. But he knew that if he didn't stop this snake, the whole city would be destroyed. He needed to find Alistair, and he needed to do it now. Peter rushed towards the building where Alistair was standing, but the snake wouldn't let him go easily. It chased after him, destroying everything in its path. Cars were crushed, buildings collapsed, and the cries of people were heard everywhere. Peter felt his heart sink. He had sworn to protect this city, but now he was helpless to watch it being destroyed. During the fight, Peter received a signal from his watch, a device that Tony Stark had given him before he died. It was a message from MJ. "Peter, I heard about the monster. Are you okay? Please be careful." MJ's voice trembled, and Peter felt a pang in his heart. He had lost her once, and he couldn't let her worry anymore. "I'll be fine, MJ," Peter whispered, knowing she couldn't hear. He shot out his web, latched onto the snake, and climbed onto its back. The snake struggled violently, but Peter didn't give up. He used all his strength, stabbing sharp threads into its skin, trying to slow it down. But then, Alistair spoke through a loudspeaker from the Oscorp building. "Spider-Man, you think you're a hero? Look at your city. It's all your fault. I created this monster from your own DNA, fused with the symbiote you rejected. It's you, Spider-Man, a stronger, more brutal version, and it will destroy everything you love." Alistair's words were like a knife to Peter's heart. He looked down at the snake, and for a moment, he felt like he was looking at himself, a twisted, hateful, dark version. He had always fought to keep the light in his soul, but now that darkness was manifesting itself before him in the form of a monster. Peter charged into the Oscorp building, determined to end it all. He confronted Alistair in the main lab, where he stood over a tank of symbiote fluid. "You can't stop me, Spider-Man," Alistair laughed. "That snake was just the beginning. I'll create an army of symbiotes, and the world will bow before me." Peter said nothing. He lunged forward, throwing a punch straight at Alistair's face. But he was ready. A giant robotic arm burst from the floor, grabbed Peter, and threw him against the wall. Peter felt his ribs crack, but he didn't stop. He stood up, webbed, and pulled the robotic arm out of the floor, causing it to fall and crush Alistair. While Alistair was trapped, Peter ran to the symbiote tank. He knew that if he destroyed it, the snake outside would be affected as well. But just as he was about to smash the tank, Alistair shouted, "If you do that, the whole city will die. I have an explosive device in the snake. If it dies, it will explode and kill thousands." Peter stopped, his hands shaking. He looked out the window, where the snake was still ravaging the city. He thought of Aunt May, of MJ, of all the people he had sworn to protect. And then, he made a decision. Peter turned, looking at Alistair with a determined look. "If I can't save everyone, I will save the ones I can." He smashed the tank, and immediately, the snake outside roared in pain. It twitched violently, and Peter knew he didn't have much time left. He spun his web, grabbed the snake, and dragged it away from the city center toward the Hudson River. Every step the snake took shook the ground, but Peter didn't stop. He used all his strength, pulling the monster away from the residential areas. When they reached the riverbank, the snake began to glow, a sign of an impending explosion. Peter looked down at the river, then back at the city beyond. He knew that if he jumped into the water, he might survive, but the explosion would still affect parts of the city. If he stayed, he could use his web to hold the snake underwater, minimizing the damage. "With great power comes great responsibility," Peter muttered, echoing Aunt May's words. He spun his web, wrapped the snake tightly around him, and plunged with it into the cold river. The explosion occurred underwater, sending a giant wave shooting into the sky. But thanks to Peter, the damage was minimal. The snake was destroyed, and Alistair was taken into police custody after being pulled from the rubble of Oscorp. A week later, MJ stood on the banks of the Hudson River, looking out at the water. She held Peter's mask in her hand, the only thing left standing after the explosion. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but she smiled. "You've always been a hero, Peter," she whispered. "I'm proud of you." New York City began to rebuild, and in the hearts of its citizens, Spider-Man's image remained a symbol of hope and sacrifice. Though Peter was no longer here, his spirit lived on, like a flame that never went out. Months have passed since that fateful day, and New York City has slowly risen from the ashes. The streets that were destroyed have been rebuilt, but in the hearts of its citizens, the scars of pain remain. In a small corner of the city, a statue has been erected right in Times Square, the place where Spider-Man and the terrifying monster once fought. The statue depicts Spider-Man, not in a heroic fighting pose, but in a simple moment. He is kneeling on one knee, holding a child in his arms, his eyes looking forward as if to say that no matter how much darkness surrounds, the light of hope will never die. MJ often comes here every afternoon, carrying a bouquet of white daisies. The flower that Peter once said resembled her, simple but strong. She places the bouquet at the foot of the statue, smiling softly. "You did it, Peter," she whispers. "You showed the world that a hero doesn't have to be invincible. A hero is someone who sacrifices himself for what he believes in." While MJ was lost in thought, a boy of about 10 ran up to her, holding a plastic Spider-Man mask. "Miss, do you know Spider-Man?" he asked, his eyes sparkling. MJ looked at him, her heart warming. Yes, I do. He's the nicest person I've ever met. The boy smiled brightly, put on his mask, and ran away, shouting, "One day, I'm going to be Spider-Man." MJ watched the boy's retreating figure, and in that moment, she felt that Peter's spirit lived on, not just in her, but in millions of others. Peter may be gone, but his legacy, his courage, his sacrifice, and his belief in goodness will forever be a beacon for generations to come. In the distance, on top of a tall building, a new figure appeared. A young man, dressed in a blue suit with shimmering threads, stood there, looking down at the city. He was Miles Morales, the man who had been silently watching Peter all these years. Miles clasped his hands and whispered, "Thank you, Peter. Now it's my turn." He released his web and dove into the crowd, ready to continue the journey his hero had begun. I would like to express my sincere thanks to all of you who have listened and accompanied me. I hope that this story has touched your hearts, the way Spider-Man has touched the hearts of millions of people around the world. Once again, thank you, and see you on the next journey.